Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and it is always a fantastic time having the Menifee maniac Fernando Gonzalez on the program, who picked up a unanimous decision victory this past weekend at BKFC Temecula over Rodney Thomas. Fernando, congrats on the win. How you feeling?
I feel great, man. You know, banged up a little bit, but not too bad. It was a great fight, and I'm just happy I came out with that victory, and it played out the way I thought it would, and it was a good fight.
Yeah, the eye doesn't look great. Do you have any kind of, I guess, injury designation? Are you not able to train for a little while?
No, it's all underneath right here, a little bloodshot, but I can see fine out of it. It's just things like 5 stitches maybe, but other than that, I'm just obviously my arms and that's pretty much it. He caught me with this clean one, and the rest was kind of more so on my body than anything else.
And Fernando, I've been interviewing you for a long time. You've been in the game for a while. You're a veteran, so you've had a lot of victories now, but this was your first official BKFC victory. I mean, at this stage of your career, getting that first win for a new promotion, did it feel any different?
I thought I won the first one, so but no, it played out the way it did. But this was obviously it was a great feeling to get that win in front of my family and friends. The way I did it, I knew I had to come out with my style. I need to come out just a little bit more aggressive. I felt a lot more comfortable in this fight than I did the first one. But I still felt I won that first one, but I definitely showed more of my tools and more of my aggressiveness in this one. And I definitely needed to against my opponent. But I worked out good and definitely feels good to get a first actual official win for BKFC.
Now, you did have an opponent change. You were supposed to fight Kyle McElroy. When did you find out about the opponent change, and how did that affect your game plan?
I was supposed to fight Kyle up until like I think it was a week before the fight, and then that's when they sent me the new contract. Um, Actually, I had heard about it from my coach because Joe has a couple guys in Victorville, and then he came up to me. He's like, "Dude, I think your opponent dropped out." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, they just hit me up for an opponent to see if they could get you an opponent." And and it was for your name. And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I haven't heard anything. And then like a couple hours later, I had a contract. So I was like, "Oh, I guess he was right." But it didn't matter. I know what I can do, and the only really big change was that my entries were going to be a little bit shorter, or I had to drop down a little lower since he was more my height. Where I knew Kyle, I could barely duck, and I'd be in under his chest. But I mean, game plan was still very similar. Get in, get out. I honestly, I think it helped me a little bit more for this one, just because I was preparing on my blitzes from further out. That for obviously Kyle had a longer reach. Um, it forced me to blitz in a little bit sooner, and it worked out in my favor in this fight because he was more my height with a little bit shorter reach. So I think the speed made it a big difference and made it hard for him to deal with.
So, this being your second fight here for BKFC, how would you rate your overall performance?
I'm ready for Mike Perry. I called him out. I've been calling him out. Um, Honestly, I think it's very hard for guys to deal with my style. So um, they're all tough fights, so anything can happen in a fight. But I think with my movement, with my style, and my aggressiveness, once I do get a hold of them, it's I can do damage quick, and I don't see it being any different against any of the other future opponents, but or Mike Perry. That's who I really want. Obviously, I'm 40 and I'm getting up there, but I really want to get my hands on him, and not because I hate the guy or anything like that. He's a talented fighter. Obviously, he has a big name, and it'd be a big name on a notch on my belt to know that I was able to get in there and whip his ass.
Well, hopefully you do get that fight down the line. We'll circle back to Mike Perry. I want to get your thoughts on him versus Jake Paul, but I want to stick with this theme, the big win over Rodney Thomas. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what your corner was telling you in between rounds. Like, what kind of adjustments or feedback were they giving you?
Um, really, I think they were just kind of seeing how it was going to play out in the first round. We knew with him being as muscular as he was, eventually he's going to burn out. So I really kind of had to keep the pressure on him, but more so avoid his power, his flurries. And one of the first things that I noticed against, like once I saw him, was that he had a really thin neck and he had a big body. So the more I could hang on that shit, it was gonna wear him out. Is I don't know if you done boxing and they put weight on your neck. It's if you're not used to that weight, your neck feels like flimsy as hell and like it's hard to hold your head up. It's kind of like a baby, their first newborns. So the more I was trying to put him in that scenario, so I kind of had a game plan quick for him just within a week. I hadn't seen him until actual like weigh-ins, and they didn't have us in the same hotel. I didn't get a room until Friday. So the check-in, they kept me away from the hotel. I'm guessing it had part to do with that, but I game planned quick, and I knew that if I hanged on him and I put weight on him that way, I'd be able to finish him or beat him.
So give me a scale of 1 to 10 ranking. Like how would you rank your performance overall?
On this one, I would say I would give it a 9. I would have gave it a 10 if I finished them. I took a stupid little my knee buckled a little in the when he took me down. It didn't really show too much in the fight, but in the when I clinched him up again, like the third or fourth, it did it again. And so the fourth and fifth, I just played it smart. I was like, I'm gonna let him come in now. I was way ahead of him on as far as points and what I was landing damage wise. So fourth and fifth, I still pressured, but it wasn't like the first three.
Mhm.
Just to play it safe to make sure I didn't blow my knee out or anything. It was more like a hypertension, so I knew it wasn't like bad. But I had to make sure it didn't get worse, and that way I can continue to fight from here after the fight. But I didn't want to give myself like something I had to get a surgery on or something like that.
What was it like fighting in Temecula with all your family, friends, all the support that you had there? Like, did it add more pressure for you here in this fight?
I think I'm comfortable with that pressure, with my family and friends being there, but it definitely gives me the you're not coming to my hometown and whip my ass in front of my friends and family, you know. It gives me that motivation where it's like I know when I fight I have that killer instinct, but when I'm fighting at home, it's they better pull me off of you. I'm gonna fucking really hurt you, it showed in the fight. You know what I mean? Obviously, they allowed that fight to continue a lot longer than it should have. That cut was bad. He should have been stopped when they stopped it originally. The ref kept showing like man, like are you sure you want to continue? Like, but the the doctor said yeah, so I was like, all right, let's go. If you want me to hurt him more, I'll do it.
And ultimately, you got the UD victory. Again, man, congrats on the win. Excited to see you get your first official win for BKFC. How'd you celebrate this one afterwards? What was the food like? Did you have an adult beverage or two? What was the celebratory night like?
Yeah, I had a couple of drinks, not too much. I don't really drink too much. But one of my Sarah Valencia, who I was telling you about, that I coach, she works at a bar down in downtown in Old Town Temecula, and so we just had them open up for us, and pretty much all my crew and everybody that was with us went there and drank. I don't really drink too much, so I had like what are the seltzers or whatever.
Mhm.
I had like two of those, and I was just chilling and eating. It was just a good time to hang out with all my family and friends and everybody that came out and support me. And I think that's what we're gonna do again. Um, obviously we got friends that have their local bars in that area, so if uh, if they allow us to throw a little after parties after the fight, then we'll be doing that more often.
Very cool, man. Now, forgive my ignorance here. It's been a while since I initially first interviewed you, but were you born in California or you were born and raised in California?
Yeah, I was born in Escondido, California, so San
Okay,
Diego County.
gotcha.
Um, but yeah, our all my family's all through Southern California, from LA to San Diego. We're kind of along the coast there. All the way actually to San Jose. We got family out in San Jose, and And so pretty much all the area we have somewhere to kind of go and kick it. But yeah, man, it's been good, and I love it when I fight here close to home. I do wish I would have had the room for the nights that I was there. It didn't matter who I was going to fight. So if they thought I was going to be shook by that, I wasn't. I didn't care. I was just happy that I was able to go out and put on a show for my family and friends, and to get my first win.
Yeah, man, no doubt. I wish I would have, started my MMA journalism career when I lived in Cali. It would have been cool to been able to meet you and kick it there in Southern Cali, because I was in like Culver City for a long time, and then I lived in the Pacific Palisades for a little bit. So right there on the coast, not too far from you.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you ever come down, I already said you're more than welcome to come down. We'll train. And I remember you said you wanted me to hold pads, and I'm always down, brother. You've been a good buddy of mine, and I respect you a lot, and I always appreciate the time you give me.
No, that goes both ways. One of these days, we're going to make it happen for sure, man. I'm going to be making a trip out west later this year, hopefully. So I'll make sure to link up with you when that comes. Let me ask you about your first BKFC fight. That was in April. It was a UD loss to Vincent Familiari. But
Yeah,
you said earlier you thought you won. I also saw a lot of people in the comments saying that you got robbed. You should have won that fight. Give me your
yeah,
your takeaway from that first BKFC fight that Chad, because I know the last time we spoke was right before that fight.
yeah. So okay, so with just fighting, period, right? Um, if they hit your arms and don't actually land a shot that's damaging, shouldn't count. That's boxing. That's any straight. If they're hitting your arms or forearms, you're gonna feel it, but it's not actually supposed to count. And so that's pretty much what he did in the fight. Any of the actual clean shots that he landed was after the bell. So the bell rang and then he cracked me one. So it happened like twice, and that was actually the damage that I got in the fight. But everything else was him hitting my arms. He was running forward, but he was running into my shots. I was able to split him on both eyes. So damage done, I did more damage. Maybe I didn't throw as much, but again, what he threw landed on my arms and it shouldn't have counted. Um, I was using my movement like I always do. The only thing is that I always run into is people assume that I should fight the way that they want me to fight. And it's like, if you go to a tattoo artist, you don't tell the tattoo artist how to tattoo. You know what I mean? Like, you have to respect that it's an art and that we're showing our art out there. I'm a shorter fighter, yes, but I don't necessarily have to run into a shot or anything. I can fight from the outside. I was blitzing in and catching with clean shots, a lot cleaner shots than what he landed. And so that's why I know I won that fight. And when I come out of a fight, the easiest way for me to judge it is I'm easily would sign that fight to fight him again because I know that I won. I don't think he would have that same like too easy. It wasn't an easy fight for him. He knows, and I had him hurt at one point. He never rocked me. I caught him with a clean shot where I left him a little wobbled. Um, in that fight, it looked like he hit me, but it didn't. You can see the replay. He misses the punch. My foot hooked the ground, and I fell. So I'm guessing the judges ruled it a knockdown when it wasn't.
Mhm.
I tripped, and so I think that's how it ended up playing out. But realistically, the shots that landed were mine, and his landed on my arms.
So you think if David Feldman came to you and said, "Hey, Fernando, we want your next fight to be against Vincent," you take it in a second. You don't think he would?
I don't think it'd be easier for him to. He would if they said like, "Hey, you don't have another choice." But it's easier for me to say I'll take that fight because I know I won that fight, and I'll definitely would fight him again and prove it. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
obviously I did a lot better in this one where it was more comfortable, but I know I won that fight, and it just plays out. It played out the way it did. I'm sure he's a tough guy too, so we're gonna run it back eventually one day. But more likely, I want to fight Mike Perry. So the better fights that I get, then I want to get to him because obviously my time's ticking, and eventually I'm gonna have to stop. But I want to get those big names as well. Um, but if they put him in front of me, I'll sign that shit for sure.
Tell me, what camp is like to get you ready for these BKFC fights now. How has it changed from, MMA to, bare knuckle boxing? I'm sure you're not having to do as much. It's more stand up and
Yeah.
boxing and not all the jujitsu and, wrestling and whatnot. But just tell me a little bit more how that's changed for you.
I honestly, it's just basically focusing on my boxing, just boxing, all my techniques that I used when I was a kid. Speed bag, double end ball, um, timing, and my blitzes. When you have to go, you go in all the way, or all the way in, or all the way out. So those are the things you work on the most. I think obviously the other thing is making sure my knuckles are conditioned. So like I'll hit hard with no gloves. Um, Another day or two, I'm keeping them wrapped up. So whatever damage I did to the knuckles, they're healing, and then I'm back on it again. So because one of the things that I noticed with the fighting was that these guys' hands were get swollen so bad in the fights that, so I was like, that shit does not look comfortable.
Mm.
Like I'm sure you're cautious to, like, okay, I probably broke my hand when you're seeing your hand that's swollen. Um, so then that I try to tie my training tries to eliminate some of that. So my hand's like a little bit, but it's not really badly swollen. It's this one's good completely, but this one's a little bit. It's the one that I use the most. But these guys' hands are like that puffed out,
Mm.
and so that slows you down, I think, in the fight, because now you're at risk of breaking that hand. Where if you're training your hands properly, you're giving your hands the time to kind of get that conditioning. It eliminates most of the swelling, and then I can let my hands go a little bit more in the fight without worrying about it breaking.
That makes sense. How are you feeling overall right now with your hands and everything? Like, do you feel like better maybe than your previous BKFC fight?
I pretty much did the same in the training, other than this is a bigger cut than the one that I had last. It was the last one was just bruising. This one actually split. But other than that, I feel good, and my arms are sore as shit. He was hitting my arms. Uh, I do really well on blocking. That's another big thing with that. I focus on my blocking. But I think the harder part is once your body's that fatigued. Obviously, if you're striking, this is my third boxing fight, so my arms are toast after a while. I start mixing in my MMA. I do kicks, I do jujitsu, whatever I can to keep the body sweating, basically. And obviously, that's all cardio.
Mhm.
My legs are stronger. I still basically do MMA training on my rest days, just so I'm working something else other than my hands.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. I wanted to get your take too, Fernando. Conor McGregor, you probably heard of him, right? He's a co he's a co-owner of BKFC. Tell me what you think like the significance of that is for the fighters right now, and what that's going to do for you guys and just the promotion moving forward.
I think like David Feldman said, it's opening doors that it wouldn't, like, where they're making a call, Connor calls, and they're going to answer, because it's good business to do business with Connor. He makes money. He knows how to make money. He knows how to generate wealth. And obviously, for him to jump in on this, it already shot us up that much more. As far as status goes, one of the biggest things that I see with bare knuckle is almost you get like that, the street cred, like you're crazy to go in there and do a bare knuckle boxing fight. And so once they learn how to market that even more with the backing like Connor has, I think it's going to be sky's the limit with these guys, and any of us that can make that can become future stars for them. Um, I'm trying to do it as quick as possible because, like I said, I'm almost on my way out. So that's why I'm calling out some good names. I know I can beat them, and I want to be able to test myself against these top guys. And obviously, if I'm one of the top guys, then they have to chase me.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, man, to see you can continue to climb the BKFC ladder here. Real quick about Connor to follow up. Do you think that we're ever going to see him fight in BKFC down the line? Like, do you think maybe he'll have one or two fights?
He may, but I think just because he's crazy, I don't think it's anything that he needs to do.
Yeah.
Um, but I think honestly, if I saw him do one, it would probably be against like a Nate Diaz, because I mean, obviously he did really good against Nate. Nate, I love Nate, but he's scar tissues is, you know what I mean, it's really easy is rip. So if I could see that happening, just because I know Nate would be like, I don't give a shit, I'll fight you.
Right.
I don't care if I get cut. Um, just so long as more likely there's a clause where they're not going to stop it right away because of the cut. I think that that would be a fight that more likely I would see him doing. Um, Dustin Poirier is another one that I would see him doing, because I've heard Dustin now talking about possibly a BKFC fight if they paid him enough. And I think Connor wants that win, so I think that'd be one that he would probably pay a lot of money to get and
Oh
try
man.
to make happen. So that would be a big fight if they did make that happen. I think those two, with especially the way the fights have played out, just to do a strict boxing fight, I could see that definitely happening and making some big money.
I absolutely love both of those ideas. I think Mr. Feldman needs to maybe sign you as a matchmaker part time as well to put these together. Those are both be unbelievable fights that would generate a ton of money. Speaking of that, I want to get your take. Mike Perry, guy you've been calling out left and right, is fighting Jake Paul in a boxing match. How do you see that going? What's your prediction for that fight?
Mike Perry's tough as hell. I think he kind of shot himself in the foot by not giving himself the time to prepare. Like, unless he was already training for an actual fight, I think he loses by decision. Just because Jake, he's a YouTube guy, but he knows how to fight. You know what I mean? To fight and beat Anderson Silva. I mean, and then he was smart in that fight too. He was a dirty ass fighter. He'd go punch and freaking headbutt him. He headbutt him like 4 times in the fight. Mike Perry has a good chin, but he puts his hands down a lot. So I think if he gets headbutted a couple of times, and it's obviously Jake Paul's promotion, they're not going to really point him for it. He'll get away with it, and I think he'll be able to set him down. Mike's got to kind of catch him early or hurt him early, where now it would force Jake Paul to kind of stay timid and stay away, and then I could see him winning the fight. But with his cardio, I think right now, and then he'll implement those dirty shots. I see him being able to beat Mike, just because the way his hands are kind of down all the time like this. Across, would miss and then come in with a headbutt. And after about 2 or 3, his chin will be soft enough to knock him out.
Will you buy that pay-per-view? Like, do you want to watch it?
Oh, hell yeah. It's still going to be an interesting fight. Mike's good, man. He's still like, he's like almost like a technical brawler. You know what I mean? He's not really technical, but he knows how to brawl technically, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that better. He just knows how to move forward with pressure, like a Mexican boxer, that pressure. But he kind of weights in with his chin up a lot, and he kind of relies too much on him having a good chin, that I don't think he's really taking into account that, like, Jake will headbutt the shit out of you. He has opportunity. He did it a lot in the Anderson fight. He had to. He wasn't being able to hurt him, so he did what he had to do and throw those headbutts until he was able to, like, okay, it's soft enough, and then he chin checked him and was able to set him down. I see that happening in this fight, so be careful with the headbutts, Mike, or give it back.
So speaking of Mike Perry, I mean, again, we've talked about him a lot the last couple of times that we've done interviews. Has he responded to you at all since we last spoke?
Now, the only time I kind of seen him respond a little bit was at the venue, because so the reason I had called him out originally is because he started saying, anybody wants that smoke, I'll fight him, whatever, and so I was about to go back to work and not be able to train full time anymore. So I was like, I want that fucking smoke. If you really want to fight, there's people that want to fight you. We're not afraid. We want to fight you. And then somebody hit me back up. I think it was through his management, or they're like, look, we're looking for bigger names. So I was like, well, then don't say you'll fight anybody because that's not true. Just say, look, anybody in that big name bracket, let's go. Don't say anybody because there's guys like me that will want to fight him. Um, he hasn't responded, but on the last show after I was in the back with him, I said, I'm here for you, and we had that kind of little that talk where I let him know that I'm in BKFC to get to him and to fight him and test myself with him. Then after his win, he said that again as I'm walking by. He was like, anybody wants that smoke, So I'm pretty sure that was towards me. And so I'm here. I got my win now, and I'm letting him know I still want that smoke, and I know I'm gonna whip that ass when I get him.
Have you been face to face with him before? Like, who's bigger? Are you the bigger man?
Nah, we're about the same height. He's probably stronger than me. He's buff wise. You can tell he lifts a lot more. But I think that's also one of the reason he fights from the hip. His arms are a lot heavier than to hold him up here where he can defend himself properly. His arms are heavier, so he's a little more down here, which allows me to be able to land. Obviously, if he hits, he's proven that he hits hard. So I would avoid the shots like I did over the weekend, and then implement my game plan on him.
I love it, man. When is the perfect time frame for you to jump back in there?
I'm probably thinking like uh November, give myself some time to heal. Like I said, this has been my third fight this year, so my body starts to act up. And I had a couple things during camp where I had to I didn't take the whole week off, but it was like I had to pull back to make sure things were healing up, and I'd be safe in the fight. I could make it to the fight. If I kept pushing too hard, then I don't think I was going to be able to make it. But shit happens, and we learn how to game plan around it. And so yeah, I think the next step right now would just give myself a little bit of a break, and then hopefully, if I do get another fight this year, it'd be like in November.
Okay. So come November, if Mike Perry isn't up next for you, is there a name on the tip of your tongue? Is there someone else that you feel like would be a good matchup for you in BKFC?
I haven't really looked at the opponents yet, the guys on the bracket. So, I mean, honestly, I'm just going off of whoever they think would be my best. Whoever's going to get me there the fastest to get to Mike. Those are the guys I want to fight. Um, I know, like I said, with my style matching up with some of the guys that are already fighting now, it's gonna make for exciting fights. And obviously, when you hear the knuckles smacking on the face, it just sounds good. So, like Feldman said, once he heard that, he knew he had something, and I kind of I felt it, and I heard it too when that first fight that I had. Man, there's nothing like that sound, and it's like a different aura that it brings to the game. It's like or in the arena, everybody's more involved into the fights, just because it's like it could end so fast. All of a sudden one guy's winning, and next thing you know, the guy. What was that first fight? Hansen on this card, he got dropped, and then he comes back and drops the kid and knocks him out. Like it's just like things that you wouldn't expect. That guy was super hurt. Next thing you know, he comes back, knocks him out. Squire Redford, he got fight of the night. One of my old students and old training partners. And man, the heart that kid has, it was like it's beautiful that they were able to display like how he does in the fighting. You could see his heart just took over, and he took over the fight after that. He got dropped, and it was like almost like you could see it switch in his head, like this shit's not happening in front of my family and friends. And he went out there and he dominated after that, after he got dropped. And so things like that, I think it's why the fans are getting so involved into it, and why anybody that can show that style of heart is why people are going to start to get behind the athletes and become superstars after a while.
Well, I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to see you back in there. I know I've told you this a million times before, but I'll tell you again, easily one of my favorite guys to talk to. You've been with me from the beginning when I first started, before I even like had any kind of like of a platform. You were always giving me your time, and it means a lot to me. So it's a pleasure for me to see you now get this first win in BKFC, and hopefully you're going to have many, many more moving forward.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. And same, man. That we've grown together, so it's been cool. It's been cool
100%.
to see you. And whenever you're down, bro, let me know, and we'll link up.
Always, man. Yeah. Again, I appreciate the interview. Congrats on the win. Before we do officially sign off here today, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to plug, any sponsors you want to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. As far as the plastering, Velasquez Landscaping, CVAC, always helping me with my recovery. Dr. Choi Chiropractic kept me in alignment for the fight. He actually adjusted me on Friday morning, just before going out, so I went out there feeling good and comfortable. My training partners that have been helping me get ready for this fight, Sarah Valencia, um, Khalil Stokes, Leo Martinez, and all the guys that train in Tarek Safardin's Muay Thai class that just do boxing rounds with me. So I appreciate that. And so Dan Henderson's Athletic Fitness Center it's always been my gym, my home, and everybody that came out to support me from the gym, and my family and friends. Thank you guys. I love you. And so again, yeah, thank you guys for helping me get ready for the fight. And it wasn't an easy fight, but we made it work, and we made it happen.